fellow makeup lovers, how are you guys doing today? I am so excited for this video because we're going to be talking about the 10 indie eyeshadow palettes that I would keep if that was all that I could have in my entire collection. All of my eyeshadow palettes are gone. These are what I have left or what I would repurchase if, you know, God forbid something ever happened to my makeup collection. I believe this is either my 4th or 5th year doing this video, so it is interesting to see how my preferences have changed over time, and I'll try to mention as we go through any palettes that are returning contenders that made it to my 10 palettes I would keep last year and also this year, because we do have some new palettes that just blew my socks off. So let's jump on in. These palettes are in no particular order except for the very first one. So that is going to be my collaboration with Adept Cosmetics. Of course, if I could only keep one eyeshadow palette, it would be this one. I've always described this as just like a cool tone, neutral lover's dream. You can get some pops of pink, some pops of purple, but overall you've got those really beautiful gray and cool brown tones. It's cool neutrals, but it's fun. I have pink from my palette, this shade right here, this like just beautiful satiny pink tone on my inner corner today, mixed with some other palettes that I'll mention later on. But I mean, not to toot my own horn or anything, but toot toot, I love this palette so much. And the shimmers are just so shiny, so metallic. You can't go wrong with them. Show you some quick wrist swatches. But I do have, of course, a full swatch party already up on my channel. And you know what, I'll be honest, this was the second eyeshadow palette that I had pulled out just because I feel like it really captures my makeup style right now, and I feel like this with my palette I love so much. So that is going to be the Ensley Reign Cold Moon palette. I do feel like this is kind of giving sisters but not twins vibes when it comes to comparing it to my eyeshadow palette, because I feel like it's also a really beautiful, lovely, cool tone color story, but it's just a little bit different. We've got some really pretty kind of sagey green tones, some different shimmers. I love this one right here in the middle. That's what I have on the outer half of my lid today. It's such a pretty like hollow chrome shadow. I feel like this is another one of those palettes where every day I feel inspired. Whatever I reach for, I end up loving. Let me do a few swatches for y'all just to show you. Ensley Reign also just has such beautiful shimmer shadows, so I don't know, you guys let me know. Do you want a full comparison? Because I will do it. Now that I own it, I can do it for y'all. But there's what that looks like together. I mean, stunning. So in my head, with those first two palettes, I was like, okay, I've got my cool tone neutrals covered. This is my everyday makeup style right now. So now let's kind of make sure we've got all of our bases. I did look at all these palettes laid out together and I was like, I want to make sure that my different moods, you know, sometimes when I want some grungy greens, when I want some purples, when I want to go a different direction, that I have options for all of those. So y'all can judge me if you want. You can judge me if you want, because I literally got this palette in the mail yesterday, and that is so unlike me to include it in a video like this, but I already love this with my whole heart. But it is a formula that I already know very well. So that's going to be the Realm of Fairies palette from Beaute Bar and Sassy Fairy. This is just like the most beautiful kind of purpley blue palette of my dreams. I originally thought that this was going to be a little bit more of a cool tone neutral palette when I was looking at the pictures online, but I would say in person, swatching it out, very much purple and blue vibes. I also think this goes so stunning with the palettes I've already chosen, but a little bit of a different direction and some very different tones. And again, it's cool, but I feel like it's a little bit more colorful. So I really love this. And I did see some of y'all mentioning that this was a little bit blue for your liking, because there are a lot of really pretty blue toned shadows in here. Again, absolutely gorgeous, super shimmery, stunning formula. But I could see what you mean. I could see that if you're a purple lover, you're like, you know what, I want even more purple shimmers. And that is where the next palette, my 4th palette that I chose, comes into the story. So that's going to be the Beaute Bar and Deandra Nicole palette. They kill it with their collaborations, quite honestly, but this is Ultraviolet, and this is such a stunning purple color story. It is truly my favorite purple eyeshadow palette, and it is pretty monochromatic. You've got, you know, different versions of purple, but I love purple shadows. So I was like, you know what? This feels necessary. This feels necessary in my 10 palettes. I need to have all of the purple options. And again, formula is beautiful. Mattes are super easy to blend. Shimmers are very, very special and just intense and gorgeous. And I mean, I'll show you how beautiful. Do you guys hate that I'm only swatching shimmers? I just realized that, but it's me following my heart. So that is palette number 4. Like I said, after 1 and kind of 2, all of these are equally loved. But if you love purples, you can't go wrong with ultraviolet. I just had to mention that the Basic Witch palette from Beaute Bar was in my video last year if I could only keep 10 palettes. And I'm sad for it to not be in this year because I absolutely love this palette so much. But when I was looking through at everything, I was like, okay, trying to make sure I have all the color stories I need. And I absolutely love this formula. So this would probably be number 11, like right up there, honorable mention. But because I have both of these, I felt a little better leaving Basic Witch behind. So something that I feel like is a little bit less of a logical, smart decision for my 10 palettes, but I just could not help myself. I wanted to keep the Fantasy Cosmetica Wizard palette because this is one of my favorite color stories. It is only a 9-pan palette. It is very, very small compared to a lot of options that I have, but I just feel so inspired with it. It is the most beautiful blue, I'm so used to talking about purples at this point. It is the most beautiful blue yellow color story, super unique. I think one of my favorites that the brand has ever done. And you know, I've got my blue options here because we have a few blues kind of scattered throughout, but these are some really beautiful true blues. And then I love a good soft yellow, so I'm happy that we have that here. And I don't know, this just felt like an impulse decision, and I took it out, I put it in with all the other palettes, and I did not think twice about it after that. But wait, let me show you some swatches before I forget. My favorite shades in here. I love these baby like pastel shimmers, and the mattes are really beautiful as well. Like that right there is a vibe. Which, speaking of Fantasy Cosmetica, I do have one more palette from them, and you know what, I'll admit it, I might be a little bit biased with this one, but I love this palette so much and it's very sentimental to me. So that is going to be the Enchanted Autumn palette that they did recently in collaboration with Makeup Just for Fun. I love Amanda. I'm absolutely obsessed with her. She is the most beautiful, wonderful person inside and out. That's why I like to point out my bias right away, because it's like if your best friend made an eyeshadow palette, you would also love it, okay? Leave me alone. So here is Enchanted Autumn, and I feel like this really added to my little 10 palette collection because of these like grungy jewel tones. I really like the mattes in here. I have Heron and Dusk in my crease today, just like very lightly, and then I also used a little bit of Libra on the front of my lid, kind of mesh between the 2 other shimmers I used from the other palettes. I know this is a little bit of a softer look with this palette, but you can go very intense, very grungy. The shimmers are really beautiful, and I just feel like it brings a little bit something different to the colors I already had here. Oh, let's do this one too. I really want to do a video doing multiple looks using my collab and the Enchanted Autumn palette together. I think that would be so fun. And they're actually like surprisingly super complementary of one another. So let me know again if you want to see that. I felt like I needed, you know, some more warm tones. I needed some more fiery, orangey warmth, and that is going to be the Adept Cosmetics Cimmerian Sunset palette, and I love this one. I feel like I recommend it to y'all all the time, every time I'm going through my Adept palettes or just talking about, you know, fall palettes, neutral palettes. I'm like, Cimmerian Sunset is such a good one because I feel like you get so much bang for your buck. There are so many multi-chromes in here, and it's just, to me, such a pretty fall palette. Of course, we've got, you know, some basic mattes on the bottom which you can incorporate, but I feel like these shimmers are so special and will be so pretty with the Enchanted Autumn palette. I've got 2 more palettes I'm going to mention next that I think will look really, really good with this. I don't know if it's silly to do it like this because, of course, I could just do like my top 10 favorite palettes, and maybe that would change my response a little bit, but I feel like if I'm keeping only 10, I need those 10 to really work for me, to really encompass everything that I need. So let me show you some quick swatches of these because they're so gorgeous. Again, don't hate me, all shimmers. I feel like the back of my hand is a good spot for some of these multi-chromes. I mean, gorgeous. So pretty. The fieriness I need. So this next palette was one that I said I would keep if I could only keep 10 last year, and it is still here. That is going to be the Adept Cosmetics and Heather Austin palette. Behind my collab, this is my favorite palette from Adept. I love it so much. I feel like it is just such a fun, interesting color story. There's only 4 mattes here, but they are actually so versatile. I feel like you could create so many looks with them, and all of the shimmers are super intense. You've got some really beautiful inner corner type shades. You've got some multi-chromes, and then you also have just some very like just special neutral shadows. That's what really gets me about this palette, is like these neutrals right here, where it's like a little more soft, more subtle, like maybe not the first thing that you would pull into when you're looking at this palette, but then they just become those like everyday shadows that you're always wanting to wear. And then Passport and Austin are both so intense. I don't even know which one to swatch. Let's do Austin. I feel like this was kind of just another fun choice for me that I felt like worked really well with all the other palettes I had chosen. And it's just a palette that makes me really, really happy. I also think Sumerian Sunset and the Heather Austin palette, besties. These look so good together. They work so well together. Super inspiring little duo right there. I was looking at everything and I was like, I feel like I am really missing out on some grungy greens. And I kind of went back and forth trying to decide what grungy green color story I wanted to include, because honestly there's a bunch that I could have chosen for this little spot, but I ended up going with the Natasha Denona Yucca palette just because this is my current favorite Natasha Denona palette. If we're not including gold, it's no longer available. I'm trying not to mention it and talk about it because it's like, it's old news and you guys cannot get it. You have not been able to get it for years, so it's like, move on, Amy, move on. But I love Yucca. I love the grungy green tones that are in here. I love that there's like this pastel kind of neon-y green. I feel like we also have some really beautiful kind of like combo green gold shimmers. And I just think that this was the thing that I was missing when I was looking at everything together. I feel like in the past I had a harder time choosing which grungy greens, and I was really, really into green eyeshadows, and I haven't been as much lately. Like, there's still a happy shade that I enjoy wearing, but they're just not my everyday tones right now, if that makes sense. So I'll just show you really quick. I feel like this is one of the few middies from Natasha Denona that really, why? I have green eyeshadow everywhere. I feel like this one has really nice shimmers, and some of the other midi palettes from Natasha Denona kind of just leave something to be desired. Definitely needed my grungy greens, and I know those are just shimmers there, so I should probably do some mattes because that was the point. Like, the shimmers are beautiful in here, but I feel like we've got plenty of special shimmers. That's what I need. Those tones right there. Last but not least, this also made it from last year into this year, and honestly, I just can't imagine another palette coming out to replace this. I think it's going to be a continuous year after year. If I could only keep 10, I would be keeping this one kind of palette. So that is the Blend Bunny Sickly Sweet, and this is just the best pastels, in my opinion, that you can purchase. I love them so much. They are so bright and just, they put other pastel shadows to shame. I've talked about it many times before. I've got full comparison videos for you, but this is my favorite. And I'm like, I'm gonna need a pastel palette. This is more of a rainbow-esque color story, so it will really go along with everything else I've got. It's just going to amplify and give me more options, and also just be the absolute best quality that I could possibly want from my pastels. So I'll do a few swatches for you really quick. You can see, like, they are just so opaque, so bright. Okay, I don't know why I'm going only for blues right now. If you have tried pastels in the past and you were disappointed, I feel like it would be worth it to give Blend Bunny a shot. It really would. I'm gonna swatch just a few more of these just to give you a little bit better variety. The shimmers are really nice in here as well, but if I'm being honest, the mattes are the star of the show. If the shimmers did not exist in this palette, I would still be 100% happy with it. We're running out of space, but I mean, what more is there to say? Alrighty, y'all, so there are all of the palettes I would be keeping. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. I will see you again tomorrow for another day of Indiemas, and don't forget to leave a comment down below. What palettes would you keep? I'd love to have a conversation with you. Bye!